Hi, I'm Pierozzi, and today we're going to be demonstrating how to make a high relief. It's going to be a non-representational artwork that's going to be a high relief, okay? And what's a high relief? It's sort of a flat background that has some shapes that comes out a little bit more fully. So we'll get into that a little bit. So the first thing we're going to need to do is, even before we get started, we kind of want to lay everything out that we're going to use. So you're going to want to go ahead and get your cutting mat, okay, or a piece of cardboard. Cardboard works out just as fine. I bought this because I like it. It has, it's kind of a self-healing cutting board. Works out really well for me. The second thing I'm going to need is a pair of scissors. So get yourself a good pair of scissors. Safety goggles. If you don't wear glasses, I wear glasses, so this is going to work out just fine for me. But if you don't, you want to make sure that you are protecting your eyes. Any pair from the hardware store should work out pretty well. Okay. And in talking about safety, if you want, you can. It is optional. You can get yourself some cut-resistant gloves. These are kind of nice, you know, if you're real clumsy, especially if you think you're going to poke yourself. They're sort of sporty too, right? They got a little, you know, you kind of look like Mickey Mouse or something. But this will really help you if you're using the X-Acto knife. You kind of go ahead and poke yourself. That won't happen. I feel pretty comfortable with using an X-Acto knife, so I'm going to go ahead and not wear these today. But I recommend that that you might get yourself a pair, okay? And you know if you are clumsy, right? Your X-Acto knife, this is going to do pretty much all of our cutting for today. Anyone will do. This is kind of a nice cutting board. Foam board that I had you guys pick out. Okay, so we're going to need a few of these, probably about 3 or 4. We'll need some Elmer's glue. Hopefully you know what this is. Any kind of glue, glue sticks work out fine. You can even use hot glue if you'd like. And then just some regular standard copy paper. Okay, you can do a lot with this. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started. So I had you guys go ahead and do a non-representational drawing, right? And then just select your favorite one. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I think this is a good one. It's got some simple lines. It's not very complicated. Again, it's non-representational. So it's not like a tree. It's not like a car. It's just something that just has a bunch of lines on it, right? Curvy lines. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to want to translate this into that high relief. So how do I go about doing that? This is probably going to be your easiest assignment. But it's going to start generating those sort of creative juices and get you going, okay? And remember, you want to keep your sketch because each one of these sculptures, you're going to do 3 of these, is going to be based off the same sketch. So we're going to start with the high relief, then we're going to do a one-sided work, and then we're going to do an art in the full. And so we're really going up in levels and degrees of 3-dimensionality. This being the most flattest, okay? Art in the round, art in the full, that's going to have the most depth, okay? We're going to literally be able to walk around that. But let's go ahead and start with this one. So what I like to do is I'll take this, and I'm going to make it easy for myself. I'm going to go ahead and get another piece of copy paper, and I'm just simply going to put it over it. Now, I've used my Sharpie to create these lines to make it nice and dark. So when I go ahead and put this over this, I can kind of already see where this is at. So I'll take this. I'll go ahead and get my Sharpie or a pen or a pencil, whatever you prefer. And I'm going to go ahead and just simply trace. Nothing fancy here. We're going to go ahead, start tracing this. All right. And so, voila, there I have it. The next thing I'll do is I want to sort of know which section is in what order. So I'm going to start with this will be section 1, this will be section 2, section 3, section 4, and section 5. So I'll go ahead and just label that. Actually this, just to make my life a little bit easier, okay? And now I'm going to go ahead and get my pair of scissors and just cut out the different sections. All right, take your time. I'm going to hurry up a little bit faster, simply because I know, you know, you guys are watching this video, and I don't need to be as precise, but I certainly want you guys to take a little bit longer than I am. Especially when you get to your foam, all your cuts. Foam board adhesive, the foam board is kind of expensive. The other thing, if you notice, I'm kind of setting it up, I don't know if you can see that with the camera angle, where all the parts go. So they're kind of in order the way that they're represented in my drawing. Now, I do have foam board, and we are going to translate this. I like this. This is kind of the preferred material. It's nice and white. It's got a nice clean surface. But if you want to save some money, you can certainly work with cardboard or another material. Poster board might work out okay. But again, I just kind of like this the best for the material. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get my foam board. Okay, what's foam board? It's got a little piece of foam in between there. It's got that nice white surface on both. It makes for a pretty good art project. So what I'll do is I'll take this first section, okay, and you can use a pencil. I'm just going to use a Sharpie for this, simply because, actually I'll use a pencil for this, and I'm just going to go ahead and trace this little part that I cut out. I'm just going to take my time. All right. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take each one of these sections and kind of line them up again. All right. And simply trace. And you could do this a couple different ways. You don't have to do it exactly the way I do it. But it's very important that your sculptures end up looking like your drawings. That's sort of the point of this. All right. And then, all right, so now sort of have all the different parts, everything's kind of laid out. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin to cut with my X-Acto knife. I'm going to take this, start to cut that first section. And if you have a fresh X-Acto knife, it'll do pretty well. This one's a little small, so I'm going to have to go over it a couple times. I do have one that's a little bit thicker than this, which would be nice. Again, just take your time. Let's see if I got it all. Pretty close. You can flip it over. Okay. And then we've got our first section. And it's not a bad idea if you get a little sandpaper just to sand those areas down. But there you go. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut out these other sections. The only reason I'm not using sandpaper is I need to still pick up some, but I want to go ahead and get this started. Okay. Section 2. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and work on that third section. And again, please take your time. I'm going probably at warp speed for this. Now envision, again, just hitting these sides with some sandpaper, getting everything nice and clean. All right, so now that we've done this, I really want to begin to make a decision about how I might want to organize this. So I'm going to get another piece of foam board, and now I'm going to just simply apply a few of these sections onto this. The first one being this. All right, so I want a little bit of depth, and maybe in this particular case, I may even want to just accent this a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of clean these off a little bit and maybe cut it on a little bit of an angle, spice it up a little bit. Taking my X-Acto knife, I'm always kind of cutting away from myself. And I'm just going to create like a little edge. All right. Now this is doing two things for me at the moment. It's creating a little bit of area of interest here, and it's also killing that line from the pen that I have here as well. Okay, that's kind of nice. All right. Okay, that kind of looks good. Again, and maybe a little sandpaper would be nice on that. Okay, so now that we got this, I'm thinking about just go ahead and I'm going to just kind of glue it there, okay? So we'll just get a little bit of Elmer's glue. All right, just kind of swirl it around there. We don't want to use too much. It's probably good. Again, hot glue works. And I'm just going to go ahead and place that on there. Okay, give it a little bit of a press. All right, so now that I've got this, now I want to make a decision about what I want to do with that section. So I don't think I actually want to use this section right now. I mean, I could do a bunch of different stuff. I could go like this. I could overlap this. You know, there's a lot of different ways to approach this. Again, I could go like that, and then I could take this section and maybe push that on there. But I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I wanna go like that, all right? And then see where we're at. But again, you could play with these little sections and kind of like it. This is slowly growing on me as an idea. And then let's see. Or this. Let's see if I can switch this. Can I go like that? No. Okay. All right, so in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Again, I want to keep my hands away from this. I want to get rid of this blue line. Got a pretty dull X-Acto knife. Let's get this going. All right. And we're just working it. I'm at that point in my life where I do need reading glasses. So, I've got them. I've got them. Keep your hands away from that blade though, right? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and place that. Again, just take a little bit of Elmer's glue. And I could take this other section that I just had, and just to double check. So I know exactly where I want to put this. Okay. Put that right there. Right. And so this is what I've got so far. Okay. Now we've got these two other sections, and then we've got to make a decision what we want to do. So do we want to kind of build up a little bit? I mean, that could be, we could kind of offset that. That could look nice. All right, we could do that. I want a little bit of depth though. I feel like the piece still needs a little bit of depth. So I might take this section and push it back a little bit. So I may just cut that whole section off. All right, simply tracing that line. And then see where we can get us. Okay. Pretty close here. Stuff away. All right. And you don't want to tear it away. You want to make sure you do a good job of cutting it. All right, so now we got this. So what if we just kind of offset this a little bit? All right, like that. That could be kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this edge a little bit on what we call a 45. So I'm going to bevel my edge like this. Okay, so I'm going to cut like on that angle, and then I should be able to match these two parts together. Again, just take your time. And I'm going to need to do it to this other side too. If I want a super bevel. Okay, I think this should match up. And now I'm going to bevel this edge. And then those two sections are going to come together. See how this is working out. Now at this point, I got some. Just want a little bit. I'm still need to clean this up a little bit. You know, clean your parts. Maybe I get this a little. Actually, wait a second. We'll just keep working. All right. A little more bevel here, I think. And again, I wish I had sandpaper. Sandpaper is going to make your life a lot easier. Just going to be able to match this up really, really nice. Okay, so I kind of got it. Okay, we're gonna just offset that a little bit. Now this is where I can do a couple different things. If I have a good piece of sandpaper, I can bevel that in. You know, I can sand that in really nicely. Otherwise, I can actually just use invisible tape. I can kind of get invisible tape and kind of tape it in. Sometimes you can even make like a little thing with poster board, which I may demonstrate. We'll see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. I always like to look and see what this thing is looking like. Is this going where we want it? Yeah, this could be a lot tighter, to be honest, but that's okay. And okay. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have so far. All right, a little something there. Got a little bit of transparency. We can cover that up too. And I'm starting to create that little bit of depth that I was talking about earlier, right? Okay, so now that we've kind of got that, what are we going to do with this section, right? I feel like, actually kind of like that section, but I think something needs to happen there as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look if we can do something with this. Is that going to look okay? Can we offset this a little bit, but now we're creating an extra line. So maybe I'll just go ahead and cut this through and see what happens. Maybe I'm going to offset this just a little bit. Alright, and we're going to just offset that. Alright, just a little bit. And again, sandpaper can clean this up like nobody's business. Alright. And again, play with the different parts. But there you have it. That's kind of a high relief. Not a pretty easy assignment, right? Nothing too out of the box for a first starter. Clean it up. Think about working with other materials too. You can draw on this as well. So maybe I'll take a Sharpie and make some lines, do something that's going to be kind of interesting. But again, I think that's a pretty good start for a high relief, a non-representational high relief. Well, thanks for checking in, and I look forward to seeing everybody's assignments.